Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, that's G-R-A-N, group, at edinarealty.com, or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, Dan and Hoges recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Rangers of Texas. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Hoges, here we are. Thank you all for listening to Men for the Win. I am Dan Thompson. With me today is Andrew Hoges Hoganson. A bit of a surprise fill-in. We thought you weren't going to be available. David, I think, is solo parenting. And so we just thought this would be an easier arrangement. This is my first day after school is out, so I have a little bit of time in the afternoon here. I'm very excited. I was very excited to watch this baseball game today, Hoges, but then I didn't watch all of the game 3. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, I'll be honest. I didn't watch all of game 1 or all of game 3. I just, when you have Jonah Bride coming in, you know that's when it's time to, I mean, David would probably put it on the small TV, but for me, right, it's just a straight up off after that. But yeah, I'm happy to fill in. It feels good to be back. It's been a hot minute, it feels like.
Well, it has, and this is all the more reason to have you on here, because I think I've taken my number of shots at your middle management status. I don't know what else to make fun of you for, though, Hoges. And you guys seem to find all kinds of things to make fun of me about.
It's just because I'm so intelligent when I speak. I just don't give you that much ammo, right? That's what it is. Like, all of these predictions are just so spot on.
So the Twins do lose 2 of 3 here to the Rangers. I have a couple theories. Now, as you know, Hoges, I was in Texas just a few weeks ago, really, and I came back with this Rangers hat. And I wonder, I just put it on now because I have not worn it. I haven't touched it during the whole series. But was the act of purchasing the hat what did in the Twins here?
You might be a little bit responsible. And I got to say, Dan, I'm a little hurt that I didn't have a box with a Boston Red Sox hat that I definitely was going to just throw away in the trash anyways. But it is the thought that counts. And I'm definitely feeling like a third chair right now with all of that.
So we'll find another hat for you someday here.
The pecking order is clear. The pecking order is clear. Message received.
We also have arranged to watch a game together, I think, in about a month, all 3 of us. Have. So then maybe, so then the other hat thing we have to talk about here, I'll put back on my Twin City Connect hat so that I'm not,
if Texas goes on a run after this, you might be responsible for that. We may have to look into it a little bit deeper.
So David put a lot of notes in. David, I think, might have actually entered a lot of notes into the spreadsheet because his little icon was there, hovering over us.
Yeah, so we tell him he gets a day off and he's there just babysitting, just making sure we put the points in there. We even got a couple texts last night about things, and honestly, whenever I get something like that from him, I'm like, well, we're not talking about that for sure.
delete
yeah, erase from my mind.
But he did add in, this was before we knew you were going to fill in, but he added the 4th of July hats that the Twins have released here. I don't actually have any of the 4th of July hats, but this design with the baby blue background and the red bill and then kind of the TC logo with the flag inside of it. I like it. The only thing I'm not sure about, Hoges, is that little ribbon across, which is a stylistic choice that I haven't quite crossed that threshold yet. None of my hats have that. Yeah. So I'm on the fence of whether to buy this.
I feel like that it makes it kind of an old person hat with that little rope or whatever right across the bill there. I like the colors.
My students are wearing hats like that.
I guess so. Maybe it's back then.
Are there. I don't know.
I don't think I can pull it off. I do like how it looks. I'm a sucker for the Twins baby blue all the time. Like, I think that is just a sweet color that they can bring back. And for the 4th of July, I think it works really well with the red brim. I don't think I could pull it off, though. But I can't pull off most of the hats I have, so I guess I don't know if that's anything new.
I think it would be like the 4th hat I've bought in the last 2 months, so I'm not sure that I can probably justify. We'll see.
Do you have a Mariners hat?
I actually didn't. I couldn't even bring myself to buy one when I was there because I just felt like I can't put this on. I can't carry this around. So no, I didn't. I wanted to pull the trigger later. Ended up. I'm gonna wait till next time. Next time I'm at the stadium, and maybe when the Twins aren't playing.
I still love that we technically are Mariners season ticket holders right now. It's a nice addition.
I've been getting all the emails too.
Me too.
I got
all the Father's Day ones that I'm getting right now.
It's fantastic. All right, well, Hogs, we should probably jump into this so long as I can actually find the sounder here for the series recap.
Series recap.
We're going to go quickly through games 1 and games 3 here and kind of dwell. But the Twins, game 1, they lose this one 16-4. It was a season high runs, I guess, until game 3, and then got matched. Just the second time this year, again, until game 3, that they'd allowed more than 10. And the last time was just last week to the A's, and they gave up 14 in a 14-3 loss. So it was discouraging. I guess it was kind of nice that we haven't experienced a lot of these big blowout losses. But this was strange. SWR, we'll talk about him a little bit later. He's back, Simeon Woods Richardson. And he looked about as he'd looked before he got sent down. He couldn't get out of the fifth. 6 earned runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. But this is a close game through the fourth, Hogs. The Twins got 2 runs and RBI singles by France and Lewis, and it was 3-2 in the fourth inning. And you're thinking, hey, this is all right.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing this game to game 3, this one is definitely the better of the two. I don't think I would encourage anyone to go back and watch either one of them. But you're right. Up until the 5th, this game was looking all right. The Twins looked like they had a little bit of life. Right when they gave up those 3 runs, they came storming right back. It was very frustrating, though, because I was listening to the game at my son's T-ball game, and as we were driving home, Texas gave up the 3 runs. So I was like, oh, that's a bummer. While walking into the house is when the Twins scored the 2 runs. So then when I turned it on, it was 3-2. I missed all the good parts, saw all the bad part. I felt like a bad luck charm in this game.
There were some moments, of course, but yes, it was really all Rangers after that. They scored 5 in the top of the 5th. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. 2 in the top of the 6th, 6 in the top of the 8th. It was former Twins starting pitcher Tyler Mahle on the mound, though I don't know how much we can call him former Twin Tyler Mahle.
Yeah, right.
He spent more time on the injured list than he
threw
did.
about 8 innings for the Twins, I think. But the Twins got to him. I mean, he gave up 10 hits. So I mean, in a game like that, you got to think that you're competitive, and they clearly were not.
Twins 2 other runs coming on RBI single by Jeffers and a solo home run by Matt Wallner. 9 of his 10 home runs this year have been solo shots. Do you think that that's indicative of anything, or is that just kind of a fluke stat?
Seems like the law of averages, but this home run was sweet. Like, Wallner's not a guy who's going to celebrate that much, and the second he hit it, he looked surprised. Like, I will get to Buxton's in game 2 in a little bit, but when Wallner hit it, he just like kind of dropped the bat and was like, did you see how far that went? And then trotted around. It was like the most like the most cocky I've ever seen him on a home run, and he wasn't cocky at all. Like, no one would say he was showing anyone up, but he was just kind of like, wow, did you guys see how hard I hit that ball?
Danny Coulomb also returned to this game. He got 1 batter late. Danny Coulomb made 2, one batter appearances.
Weird appearances, too. Like, he was one of our best pitchers before he got hurt, and now Rocco's throwing him in with Jonah Bride.
Well, because, yes, it was Jonah Bride who got the top of the 9th. Pitched okay. He did hit a batter. He only allowed 1 hit.
When you're getting hit by a 45-mile-an-hour ball, you're fine. There's no charge in the mound after that.
Like, I would love for a Rangers
I'd be
player
mad. I would legitimately be mad. I'd be like, dude, I want to tee off on you. Why are you hitting me?
I would either like that or he just drops to the ground, and
right.
like lays there for a minute. In any case, the Rangers, again, plenty of runs. But game 2 was a fun game that we will come back to some of these moments here. But Twins win this one 6-2. Top of the 2nd and 3rd, the Rangers score the first 2 runs on a Simeon home run and then a Josh Smith RBI double. So again, it's Rangers early.
Yeah, starting to feel bad about it right away, especially with how game 1 went.
Yeah, totally. But then bottom of the 3rd, Byron Buxton hit a 3-run home run that we will come back to. And so it's 3-2. That also came after he made a really nice catch in the top of the 3rd.
Unbelievable catch. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that one more, but I love those catches. I think they're more impressive than the robbing home run catches.
Top of the 4th, David Festa, who has returned to the rotation, he picks off Evan Carter at first, but it was almost like a Sandlot length pickle. It was like
got the
4
whole
throws.
team in there.
I think it was
love the
Christian
scoring
Vasquez.
when it's like 2-1, 2-4, 6, 2-1, 4, 6, 2.
Fantastic. So that maybe some positive momentum there too. Bottom of the 5th was kind of a super interesting inning to me. So Byron Buxton led off with a double. And then that led to the Rangers pulling starting pitcher Leiter. Then this is a lefty-righty thing. So then Larnach was DHing, but then they bring in Jeffers, which I thought was kind of early. Jeffers hits a sac fly, though, to right field, so Buxton gets the 3rd. And then the contact play is on. If there's ever a contact play to have on, I do want it for Byron Buxton. But Matt Wallner hit a hard ground ball to first. Smith threw home. He got Buxton, but the play was challenged. This was super close, Hogs. Did you think he was safe?
I think he was, but I'm okay with how they called it, if that makes sense. And I feel like that was kind of the general consensus on Twitter and even like the radio. And then I heard the announcers talking about it afterwards too, because the umpire was in perfect position for that play and he blocked the best angle when they were showing it on TV. I think Buxton's hand probably just got in there, but there wasn't a definitive angle that really showed that. So I'm happy that they stuck with the call. It was hilarious though how the umpire announced it, and he was like, and so the call stands, the runner is safe. No, out, he's out.
It kind of felt like when you get in a yes no fight with your kids, and then they like switch the word that they're saying, and then you say their word, and then you're like, no, I didn't say what I said.
100%. Well, Dan, one of the joys about middle management is that also happens with your employees. So
that's way more depressing than when it's with your 5-year-old son, right?
That is true, but way more frustrating too.
Well, the weird thing about this inning was that the Twins were not done. So there's 2 outs with runner at first, but then France singles to get on base for a 22nd straight game. And then Castro triples. And this is where I wanted the Tommy Watson camera that we were promised here in this changeover, because Corey Provis kept talking about how he swore that he saw Tommy Watkins start the windmill motion.
Yep.
And then Morneau was saying, showed a camera.
Yeah, I know. That was frustrating too, because I wanted to see exactly where Castro was and where that ball was too, but we never got that angle, because Morneau was saying that it looked like Castro slowed down a little bit from second, like right as he was rounding second, and if he hadn't have done that, Watkins may have still sent him. I don't know. I there's not a lot more exciting than an inside the park home run.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if I would have cared if Watkins would have sent him, even if it would have been out by a mile. Like, it just kind of seemed fun.
Well, he does score anyway, because then Carlos Correa basically dots the line down left field for a ground rule double that bounced into those stands over there. So it's 6-2 Twins at that point, and then that was all they needed. David Festa actually got a third time through the order. We're going to talk about that. But he finishes 6 innings for just the second time in 18 career Major League starts. Stewart, Varland, Duran combined for 4 hits allowed, but no runs, so they hold on. Duran's ERA is at 1.15. He was, by the way, the AL reliever of the month last month.
And well-deserved.
Yeah, 7 saves, 20 Ks in 15 innings, and an ERA of .60.
It's been awesome. The tales of his demise were definitely a wee bit too soon. So it's very nice to see him pitching like that. And honestly, Varland too. The bullpen has still been absolutely phenomenal. And this game was great because after that Buxton play at the plate, you get a little worried that maybe that's a bit of a momentum turner. And, it's just a Minnesota sports fan thing to do, to be like, oh, that run's going to bite us for sure. It was nice to see them get more on the board, and then the bullpen shut it down. Very fun baseball game.
Well, Game 3 was not a fun baseball game, unless you're a Rangers fan. The Rangers, by the way, came into this struggling offensively. They ranked towards the bottom in about every offensive category, but you would not know it watching this series. They score 16-3 to beat the Twins here. Now, I thought that this game kind of came down to the first 2 innings, at least for the first 3 innings. It felt that way because the Rangers took advantage of opportunities. The Twins did not. Rangers scoring a couple solo home runs with an RBI mixed in, and then a 3-run home run by Wyatt Langford. So off Bailey Ober, it's 6-1, just like that. Bottom of the first, the Twins did get a couple on, their first 2 guys on, and then Correa hit an RBI single, but that's all they got. And then bottom of the second, they load the bases and don't get anything at all.
It was frustrating too. Like the first with France striking out with 3 pitches, like you have that opportunity. You have an opportunity to get back in the game. I mean, they tied it. It was 1-1 there, and you're hoping for a little bit more. But yeah, this did not go well from the start.
No, from there, not a ton to say after that. Rangers scored a lot. In some, they hit 6 home runs, 16 hits. Cole Sands comes in, allows 4 of those runs. New guy, Joey Lenz, who we'll talk about him more in just a minute, allows 2. Jonah Bride came up 3 this time. He seems to be the primary position pitcher. Willie Castro is out, apparently.
I guess so. He did have a 5-pitch inning for his first inning, though, so he was looking good to start off with.
I mean, just throw it over the plate, right? That's all it takes.
That's all you got to do.
Bailey Ober, we will talk about him, though. Couldn't get out of the 5th. 7 earned runs, 6 hits, 6 walks. His ERA is up to 4.40, which is now more than the number of children that he has in his family.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
So disappointing, obviously, because you want to be able to get Game 3 there, Hogs.
Oh, for sure. It would have completely changed the series. Obviously, you can get that bad taste from Game 1 out of your mouth, but no, more of the same. And we've got some questions for this team going forward after a few series where they've given up a lot of runs.
Now, if you've got questions, though, at home, Hogs, about your internet, we got good news for you, Minnesota, because there's a new high-speed internet sheriff in town. Gateway Fiber has landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth, with plans to expand deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber boasts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all your online working, streaming, and gaming. With no hidden fees, no data caps, no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is perfect for your home or business. So go to gatewayfiber.com to get a fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed fiber internet.
Touch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
You sure know how to pick them here, Hogs.
It's been great. It's been so good. I love how David said he hates that this is happening right after I said I'm about to go on a run here. I've gone on a bit of a run here.
You picked Buxton, who had 15 points to get you the bonus as well. He was pretty clearly the best. I picked Wallner, who had 4, and then David took Larnick, who had 0, and the listeners took Royce Lewis, who didn't actually play a ton in this series, and he had -1. One note about it too is that going into this series, the last 8 Puckett's picks, as far as the team high, had been 8 different players. And actually, now that I look at it, Buxton makes it 9 in a row because he wasn't one of those 8 already.
That's insane.
Isn't it crazy?
That's crazy. Which you'd think that's a good thing for the offense, and I guess it kind of is. It's just the defense and the pitching right now is kind of overshadowing everything else.
You now have 10.5 points on the season. David has 6.5. I have 5. The listeners have 3.5. A 4-point cushion, and we're not that far from the All-Star break.
It's not bad. This is not bad, folks. It's looking real good for your guy right now.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
I mean, this is the easiest choice in the history of the world for me, for my Beast. I'm going with Buxton. He even performed pretty well in Game 1. He had 3 hits in Game 1, and then just an absolute bomb in Game 2, along with that catch, which, shocker alert, is going to be maybe my Minnesota moment later on, so I'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, just a star. Watching him on the base paths again is just phenomenal. The one thing I do want to point out, though, that they mentioned on the broadcast a bunch, Buxton has never stolen third base in his career. He tried one time back in 2016, and he got thrown out. And other than that, he has not stolen third base. The team as a whole has not stolen base this entire year, and the league average is 6. Isn't that weird? Like, that's just a weird stat.
It's a weird stat. It's a stat because I think Byron Buxton said too that once he's at second, he feels like he's in scoring position. But you're not in scoring position for like a wild pitch or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I guess. So. But like honestly, if there's a deep fly ball to right field and Buxton's at second, he might tag up from second and score. Like there is certainly a possibility.
Certainly, if the guy doesn't have his feet set, I mean, he could really go. We've seen Buxton do amazing things on the base paths, but I was surprised by that.
Yeah, such a bizarre stat for a guy that's so fast.
He also didn't strike out, I think, only once this whole series.
Yep.
So
just phenomenal putting the ball, which that's what you want from him, right? If he's putting the ball in play, he's so dangerous. We've talked about it more than anything else. If he puts the ball in play, if he's on the base paths, it totally changes the entire makeup of how a team is playing defense.
I'm going to go with Willie Castro as my Beast here. He had that triple in Game 2 that was really big. But even in Game 3, he had a couple hits. And, his flexibility positionally is big. He did have even a hit in Game 1. I mean, his OPS is now up to over 800, now 825, which I think is, top 3, top 4 on the team.
Yeah.
An asset when he hits like that.
Absolutely. I mean, since the Seattle series, he's been on fire right now. He's been vital to this lineup. And he kind of took a little bit of a break from that at the end of last year. And seeing him perform well again this year has been really nice to see.
Who's on your bench?
Well, I think both of our choices here are pretty obvious. I went with Bailey Ober. I know this is going to hurt David's soul, but 6 hits, 7 runs, 6 walks, and his velocity is way down. He gave up 4 home runs. It's just not a great start from him. The alarm bells are starting to ring for me a little bit because this is a few starts in a row that appear to be more velocity related than anything else, and that's a little nerve-wracking. And he says he doesn't have any injuries or anything like that, so it's just, it's hard to see that, and we need him right now with Lopez being on the IL.
The Twins players have been known, I think, to be a little misleading about their injury
They have
status.
been.
I think we all know that Carlos Correa has been dealing with a serious wrist injury for a long time here. So I don't know.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
Are you on my side though with the Correa stuff?
I am. And the thing that bugs me about this most, actually, David was the one who brought this up originally, that he thought maybe Correa going on the IL wouldn't be that bad of a thing. And then for you to just be like, yeah, you're right, I think it would be a good thing. And all of a sudden Dave was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. It came out of left field for me. I'm backing you up on it, though. I always thought he was the conductor of that train, and you decided to just buy a ticket, but apparently not.
Thank you. Look at that. See, that's a good old metaphor. We haven't used that in a while. I'm going to go with SWR for the poor start. I just think it was costly because You're playing a lineup that has struggled. You gave them some life, and it felt like this was actually set up well for him coming home. He's got extra rest. He should be ready for this start, and he was not. And that really causes some lingering questions about the rotation that I know we're going to talk about later, but this is your opportunity, man.
I am not throwing away my shot.
Yeah, we talk about how much depth we have with this rotation, and then you have guys just not showing up. I mean, at least Festa showed up in game 2 to give them that, but yeah, there's some question marks about this rotation now. That's crazy to be asking, because 2 weeks ago we were talking about them being the best in baseball.
I just think there's guys in the rotation here, and maybe we're going to see somebody else come up, maybe Marco Raya. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're not seizing that opportunity.
Rocco's Rewind.
Mine's more of a particular thing, so I think I'll start. So I love that they let David Festa go 6 in game 2. And it looked from the telecast and what they were saying on TV that, maybe if the Twins don't score some runs in the 5th, that they don't let Festa go out for the 6th. But the fact that he went out, he got the 2, 3, 4 hitters to go in order with really not a lot of trouble. We just talked about this. They're going to need David Festa to be good here down the stretch. And so the fact that he got the opportunity, he seized it. I also look at David Festa in the dugout, and he looks like a child. And maybe it's just because I'm getting a little bit old.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
But he could be my student. Hoges,
it's weird.
This young
the
man
older
here.
you get, the people when they're in their early mid-20s, they look like they're 15 now, and it's just brutal. Like you're in the major leagues. Are you kidding me? Can you even drive a car yet?
And you can throw a fastball, 95 mile, whatever he can throw it and get guys out. So really impressive though from Festa. Go ahead. What do you have for Rocco?
I don't have much because it's a weird series. Is it stressful managing a series like this when you give up 32 runs in 2 games, or is it just boring? Are you just like, whatever? Like I don't know if there's a whole lot you can pick on a manager when 2 of the games were done by the 5th inning in game 1 and the first inning or the second inning basically in game 3. It's a weird conundrum for him, and I wonder how relaxing that is, or if it's brutal just watching your team get annihilated like that.
I mean, the one thing that you could argue he could have done is maybe pulled SWR a little bit earlier. And I think they were warming somebody up. They just couldn't get him ready in time. So that would be the one spot. I think you got to be able to flush this as a manager, and you got to be able to think like Rocco does so well. How am I going to win the next game here? How can we avoid the long-term damage? Which I guess is as good of a time as any. So the Twins did trade Jorge Alcala to the Red Sox. They acquired a single-A utility player, Andy Lugo. This was one of those deals that I think if you look at it like value for value, you're going to say, well, that didn't get much. But we got to remember that they were probably just going to release him, and he would have had to clear waivers. So you're getting something for basically, I think I saw it said that the Red Sox are basically paying to jump to the front of the line. Yeah. You obviously wish him well, don't you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you kind of think that he might be a guy that ends up figuring it out too, right? Because he's got raw stuff that looks really, really good. It just never clicked here. I'm fine with the Alcala experiment being done in Minnesota. I do wish him the best, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a pretty decent reliever somewhere else with some change of scenery.
The Red Sox do come to Target Field, I believe, in July. Yeah, end of July. So people will be able to see him come back. And then the other roster move, the Twins claimed left-handed pitcher Joey Wentz off of waivers. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he played for the Tigers a couple years ago. So he was actually with the Pirates. So a little surprising if the Pirates don't want him. The Pirates aren't great, but the Twins do. But I think they'll take a lefty. He ate a couple
they threw him in
too.
For nothing for a while there today. So
well, that was it. So we'll see if he sticks. But those are the roster moves. I think let's move on here to the Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
So I'll go first here. Game 1, top 5th. There was some overly aggressive defense that I think led to the game getting away from Minnesota. Now, I think probably in hindsight, these weren't bad moves, because if they do make those plays, then maybe the game is a little bit closer. But I thought that was pivotal because it really did open the floodgates for the Rangers. They played so well offensively the rest of the series. But it was kind of that one moment of maybe weakness here for this Twins team early on to say, I don't know. It seemed to portend all of the problems that were going to come.
Well, and sometimes with an offense like this that's sputtering, you give them a couple extra chances. That's all it takes. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think it did kind of spell the rest of this series, like minus that nice little blip that we had in game 2. But yeah, you can't give a team that's sputtering any hope, because sometimes that's all you need when you're giving them extra outs.
But you have the most positive moment. I think it's a pretty clear one.
It's just, I feel like my dad would be disappointed in me if I didn't mention this, but every single time when I would play baseball, if someone, or we're at a game, or when I was playing Little League, you make a great play in the field and you're up next, my dad would always be like, you're getting hit. Like that's just how it always seems to go. Like that guy's getting hit. It was so fun seeing that progression where Buxton makes that diving play out in center field, which he's coming in a little bit. Unbelievable catch. He's up the next inning. Just a laser to center field. Hit the Delta 360, like the suite up there. I don't know if you saw the picture, but it left like a big old red ball mark on the limestone facade out there, which was just awesome. You have the stat on here. It's the third longest Twins home run since 2015, behind Sano and Kenny, or the fourth largest, I should say, behind Sano with 2, 496, 495. Kenny Vargas had a 483, which is crazy. I barely remember that guy.
I know, that was the name on the list. I'm like, oh, Kenny Vargas. I forgot about him.
Remember that big dude. And then Buxton with 479. And his post-game interview was awesome. He's like, if anyone wants to know how far I can hit a baseball, that's about it. I got all of it. And he's like, I knew. He's like, sometimes you don't know. That one I knew. I got all that ball.
I mean, he is, I don't know the numbers exactly, but he's closing in on 10 years already in the majors here. I think he
makes me feel so old now because you look at him and he's finally looking a little bit older now. Yes. And to me, he's still like the number 1 and 2 ranked prospect with Miguel Sano right now. And I'm like, he's a veteran now, like, and a grizzled veteran.
And I wonder then, there's something about Byron Buxton in his 30s that I feel like could be a better version of him than the version in his 20s.
Look at him this year. I mean, it's great to watch. And he seems, careful is probably the wrong word, but like, I think maybe mature. Maybe mature is just the word. Like, he's just playing the game a little bit more maturely, and he's not getting hurt. He knows what his body can do, but he's still flexing that speed and that athletic ability. I feel like I'm jinxing him, but it feels like he's figured it out this year, and I love it. Like, he is easily my favorite baseball player when he's playing like this. It's just so fun to watch.
He's going to be an all-star if he keeps this up. He may maybe be the Twins' only one. I think Duran is the other one that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other guys right now you would put on that list?
I mean, Joe Ryan's been really good, but there's so many good starting pitchers that they can pick in the rest of the American League. That's always tough. Correa's been decent, but again, shortstop is a nearly impossible position. I think Buxton and Duran, they both clearly deserve it. I think that might be it, though, for the Twins.
We also haven't talked about Correa too much, but he had a wonderful basket catch over his shoulder.
I love that, the Willie Mays catch. Those are so hard. That hole when you lose the ball for a second, you have to catch it as it's coming right back down in front of you with the full speed. And for him to be able to do that after having that collision with Buxton, too, and kind of be like, yeah, you know what, I'm still running out here and putting my body on the line. It was
but
nice
maybe
to
that's
see.
Why he's looking at the outfield now. When he does it, he can see the outfield coming in on him.
There you go. That makes a lot more sense then.
All right, a couple questions here to ask him. Maurer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Maurer's musings.
I wanted to put something more fun, something more forward-looking, because that's what I try to do when I'm not on the podcast that often. But this is the only one on my mind. Is it time to start panicking about the starting rotation? Like, it's been a pretty long streak here. Bailey Ober's not looking great. SWR's not looking great. Zebby Matthews has been all right, maybe. And we don't have as much depth as we do. Like, how worried should I be right now?
Yeah, we look back at Bailey Ober's last few starts here. So 7 runs today. Against Toronto last week, he went 7 innings. We gave up 5 runs. I think he was kind of eating some innings there. But yeah, going back to the Seattle start, 4 innings, 2 earned runs. He hasn't had a spotless start in quite some time. I think his performance is in some ways, well, it's just part of the worrying trends you talked about. Without Pablo, that really does hurt. And then even losing Zebby, there's just, I guess my concern is that Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober need to be great right now. Yep. And there's just not the wiggle room. So I am getting a little bit worried here. I also think that's going to maybe have some domino effects on the bullpen, and they're going to get more worn down because your bullpen, when it only has to, give you 4 or 3 innings per game, that's manageable. Now this is getting dangerous.
We saw that last year. They got overworked, and then they kind of fell apart at the end of the year, and I'm just worried that we're kind of trending in that same direction again.
Well, we'll see. Zebby could be out only, hopefully, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, so that's going to be probably 3 or 4 starts they got to fill in. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Raya just come up and get a chance.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they don't have a lot of options other than SWR's got to turn it around, and Festa's got to be good as he was this series.
Yeah, we're using the depth right now. It's here.
So I'm looking at the standings, Hogs, and this is a dangerous thing to look at the standings in the AL Central right now because there's a lot of really close teams. So aside from the White Sox, and really, here's where they're at. So the Royals are 34-34. The Guardians are 35-32. The Twins are 36-32. And I think maybe some of these are pending games today, but the Tigers are 44-25, 7.5 up on the second place Twins. Is it too early to just hand the division crown to the Tigers here? They've been playing so well since the end of last season when they cost me that bet. Are they just a runaway train waiting to happen, or do you think that one of these teams, including the Twins, could catch them?
Well, it's weird because the Tigers are basically on a 108 win pace right now, and the Twins are on an 87 win pace right now. So So, I mean, you're talking, that's a, 18, whatever. I don't feel like doing the math in my head right now, but that's a huge division win. We're about as close as you can get to being like they're a runaway team, and they're young. They don't know any better. They're fun to watch. If not the champs already, firmly in the driver's seat. But again, remember, Dan, Tigers were 9 games out, and that was like with a month and a half to play, and now
But then
so it could happen to them too. But there's so much talent there on that team, and I feel like the Twins are about what they are. Like this feels right. Our record feels very deserved right now, but so does Detroit. So I just don't see a whole lot of change happening.
Yeah, I mean, run differential, Tigers are plus 85, Twins are plus 16. Everybody else in the division is negative. Also,
a series like this is really going to hurt.
Well,
that whole run differential.
It didn't help with that.
And the Athletics.
Lost like 20. Yeah, so they've dropped quite a bit. But nobody else in the majors has the division lead that the Tigers do. Next highest is the Mets with 5.5 on the second place Phillies. Then you could be in the West where it's Dodgers, Giants, and Padres within 2 games of each other.
It's so funny because like a month ago, you and David were talking about how, man, this will be really fun if there's 4 Central teams fighting out the division lead and at the end of the year, because everyone was within like 5. And now we just fast forward a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, is Detroit going to run away with this by the All-Star break? Like I love how the game makes us stupid like that a little bit, where you're like, oh yeah, it's over, and then a little bit, no, it's not. Oh, our starting pitching is the best in the world. Do we even have any starting pitchers anymore? Are they all on the IL? Like baseball is so fickle, but it's lovely. I love it.
All right, let's move on here. We got to grade this.
Series grades.
Hoges, the tradition is that I go second, so I'm going to let you go first here. Yeah.
I didn't have recency bias this time. Weirdly enough, I gave them a D, mostly because like yesterday's the game 2 was a very fun baseball game to watch, and it left a very good taste in my mouth that kind of like glossed over a little bit of today. I gave them a D. It feels generous for sure, but I don't know. Game 2 was awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be lower. So momentum wise, again, this is my pendulum -2 to +2 swing here. They're going -2. This was such a big step backward, largely because of the starting pitching problems that we talked about. Decision making, I gave them a 0 because I just didn't think decision making mattered in this series at all. Stars, yes, Byron Buxton looked great. Correa looked great, but nobody else stepped up. And I also need to maybe officially, I need to codify who counts as a star, a mid, and a youth. Now they got
you do tend to switch them back. I do. Every once in a while, I hear a guy in the mids being talked about, and then the next week he's a star. I love it though.
So I might have to change that up a little bit. But the mids and the youth, I just gave them each -2 because nobody else seemed to play all that well. Yeah. And it's also when you looked at the scores. So I totaled that up. That's 7, 8, and that's 9 out of 25, which is very clearly an F. So it's an F. It was one of the worst series of the year, I thought. Yes, they got game 2, but it's really hard to look at giving up 32 runs in 2 other games and say you did well.
Wouldn't you say it's got to be the weirdest series of the year too? I know the A's series was weird too, where we just dominated them for 3 games, and then the last game was like, we don't care anymore. Like this series just felt so talk about pendulum from game 1 back to game 2 and then back to game 3 again. It was just such a bizarre series. Like even talking to you a bit before we started recording, it was like, I don't know. It was a weird one to talk about.
Well, hopefully they can flush it here. By the way, they've lost 4 of their last 5 series here. The only one that they won was the A's. Now they haven't been swept in some time. Now
I'm trying not to think about that. I'm trying not to think about that because they've played some decent baseball in between that. Like I know we were both there and we're both tainted by our experience, but the Seattle series didn't feel like they lost. It was just because it was so fun and the games were so close and literally one pitch here, one pitch there. It's different, and it feels like some of those losses have been like that. This series may have kind of been like the hammer to my head a little bit. That was like, ooh, this has been bad for maybe longer than I would like to admit, where you just kind of start, I don't know, realizing it a bit more. Speaking of something that sneaks up on you as being sneaky good, it's officially coleslaw season. Grab a jar of Jimmy's coleslaw dressing to give your slaw the zip and zang that everyone will be talking about. Available in original, fat-free, and pineapple, Jimmy's is family fun and locally owned. Delicious on burgers, brats, pulled pork, and as a summertime side, you can't go wrong with Jimmy's. Pick up a jar today. Jimmy's salad dressing and dips. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
All right, so Hoges, one of the reasons that we had you on actually was to contribute here to this particular segment. I'm going to dispense with a quick note first before I kind of give the floor to you to explain. But the Athletics' Denzel Clark, the center fielder who made some good plays and some not so good plays against the Twins, had an insane home run robbery from an Angels player. He climbed the wall, hung on it, reached over and grabbed the baseball with his glove. The calculatedness of this play, and you as somebody who played more baseball than me, can probably attest to just how difficult this catch was.
It's the best home run robbery I've ever seen. Like I don't feel like I need to like add anything onto that. It's the best home run robbery I've ever seen. I have said on this podcast, and I'll say it again now, that is not the hardest catch to make in baseball. I think running in and diving forward, or even to your left and right, are both harder than that catch. But that was an unbelievably phenomenal catch. I'm annoyed with the people who are saying it's the greatest catch in baseball, because honestly, when you're running in, it's so much harder to judge the ball. Also, you miss it, the ball gets past you. There's just so much more that's at risk that you have to decide whether or not to lay up. That one, he can just go for it. It's either a home run or he's going to catch it. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I think it is the best I've ever seen in that category. It's just, that's not the hardest thing to do as an outfielder.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
Now, I'm going to get so much, I just know it already. David is going to come after me like, you said that catch was easy? I didn't. I don't mean it like that. But it was the discourse around it was bugging me a little bit, even though it was beautiful. I myself probably watched it like 75 times because like he almost fell into the outfield too. His like whole backside had looped around on it and he somehow managed to get up. But I wonder why you don't see, I mean, it's because it's incredibly hard to do, but why more guys don't do that kind of jump up and like scale the wall basically.
Maybe it's something about that stadium where you can, maybe there's something about that wall that he knows.
The dirt's slippery enough to get you a nice, he got it, it's the 25-foot warning track that he was able to run on in order to get up there.
He just glided those last 24 feet. I'm just going to give the floor to you, Hogs, here for the rest of the segment.
Yeah, so one of our longtime listeners, Eric, was at the game on game 1, and he actually, as he was watching the game, he texted me. He's like, there's a guy that's sitting next to me that's holding an iPad that's watching this game really intently, and he found out that it was an advanced scout for the Kansas City Royals. It was perfect timing for him, right, because no one actually wanted to be at game 1 after about the 5th inning, and this guy was more than willing to talk to him. So I just have a couple notes from him that I think everyone will find really, really interesting about what this guy does. So he's a scout for the Kansas City Royals that he's been there for 30 plus years. He played minor league baseball, so he goes to about 100 games every single year. And Eric was asking him, like, what do you look for? Like in this day and age with sabermetrics and advanced metrics and all of that, what is an actual scout at the stadium doing? And he said, I don't know if you've seen the movie Trouble with the Curve at all, Dan, but it's more of like the ineffable things, like the sound the bat makes, the sound the glove makes, like what the guy's demeanor is. And it was just cool that teams still do that. He did say only 3 teams still do it, and among those are the Royals and then the Rockies, which I don't know how that's out for the Rockies. That might not be going that well for them, but he did say most teams did it, and then after COVID, a lot of teams just kind of stopped. So they all do it during the playoffs and before the trade deadline, but no one has it like the entire time. And he's been doing this, like the Royals pay him. It's not like he does it for any other team, but he loves sitting behind home plate. Yeah. He can go in the press box too, but he likes just seeing that out there. And it was so cool just hearing that. And so Eric's like, what are some of the questions you want me to ask him? So I said, like, well, ask him who, like on the Twins, who's the most dangerous hitter, like the guy that he's most afraid of. And without even missing a beat, he said Ty France, which
this is France.
It's funny. You look up Ty France's numbers against the Kansas City Royals. I think he's batting .392 with an OPS in the thousands with like 15 home. It's absurd. Even with the Mariners, he just destroyed them. And like, who am I to be fact checking this scout or whatever? But it was just so funny to just see it like just perfectly. Like he didn't even. I was like, did he have to? He's like, no. He like before I even finished answering the question, he's like, Ty France. If I never had to see him at bat again, I wouldn't. That would be great. But he said he thinks Joe Ryan is the best pitcher. He loves his antics, which who doesn't, right? Like we all love Joe Ryan showing that.
I don't love it all the time, actually, but so maybe I'm the curmudgeon there. But yes,
it was just cool that there's still teams doing that where they're looking at if like he said he had a stopwatch. They're looking at how long it takes to get to home plate. They're looking at how players deal with injuries. Like maybe there's something that's hurting them and that other team can take advantage of, right? Like if a guy's not swinging at this, like everyone can look like what a player's batting average is against a changeup, but to have more data behind that, I think is really cool. And it's crazy too because the Royals don't play the Rangers until I think it's 3 series from now. So that's how far ahead he's going to all of these games. Credit to this guy for giving my friend all of this information. And like he asked him multiple times, like, am I distracting you from your job? Like, do you want me to shut up? And he's like, no, I love this. It's fun to talk about the game. So it's just, I don't know. It's a cool little romantic thing about baseball that there's still these advanced scouts that are going out to all of these. And he'll watch the game afterwards too. So when he'll watch it in person, then he goes back to his hotel and he like makes marks on when he wants to like focus in on when something interesting happened. So every game he goes to in person, he watches again on TV afterwards. But he said it's still just super I mean, obviously that's his job, so he's going to say that. But I thought that was a pretty neat little anecdote for the podcast.
I'm so glad that he was willing to talk about it, because you would almost think that they wouldn't want to be able to.
And like so open about it too. But that was one of the other interesting things too. He had an MLB press pass, so he said he could get into the dugout, the press box, wherever, like, so he can go wherever he wants. And it's crazy that teams are so open about sharing all of that, but I think that's kind of that old school baseball mentality, that's just how it was, and teams are doing that forever. And they actually, like, there was another advanced scout that was also at the game that was sitting a couple rows up for another team too.
The ability to just get eyeballs on a player, and there's so many levels of baseball, and there's so much baseball being played. You have to have the respect for the people who can look at guys. And I know that we talk about, stats can tell you a lot, but I do think that there's something just about watching the game and watching the people play. And you're like, whether that guy's good or not. You know whether he's hurt or not, which I think it's pretty clear that I have that eye.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
So maybe I should be a scout, Hogs. I can tell him whether somebody's injured.
That should have been a question that we asked him. Do you think there's something wrong with Carlos Correa's wrist? We could have solved it. What an opportunity missed right there.
Oh, my gosh. All right, Hogs. Well, we should move forward here. We got to pick picks for the Houston Astros series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night. Puckett's Picks.
So the listeners have a sense of the history here, and they're going to go with Carlos Correa here, heading back to Houston, where they can't boo him there, right?
I don't know. There's no way, right? I mean, it would be more hypocritical than us cheering for him. So, yeah, there's no way they will.
Okay.
I think he'll get a standing ovation.
I hope so, for all the contributions that he makes.
You win a World Series. Yeah, you give him that.
Yeah, you kind of get something. David is going to go with Byron Buxton. That's no surprise. So that leaves me with a lot of options here. What the heck? I'm going to go with Royce Lewis. You remember that time when he hit a home run there to coming off the injured list for the umpteenth time? So I'm going to go with Royce.
You give me a lot here. I've got Castro. I've got Wallner.
Because the offense hasn't been so much the problem for this team, right? Guys can hit.
You know what? I'm going to go with the advanced scout of the Texas Rangers, and I'm going to pick Ty France. I know they're not playing the Royals and they're playing the Astros, but he's gonna perform. We're going with France.
I love it. That's a great pick, Hogs. So you are off on vacation. We won't hear from you. Are you going to be chiming in on the text thread though over the next couple weeks?
I should still. So we're going. It's my wife and then my parents are going too, and each group of us is going to have a working cell phone, so that will be mine. So I will be keeping in touch with Twins baseball, and I will be pulling a David and letting you guys know what you should and shouldn't talk about still.
Thank you again for filling in. This has been fun. I'm glad we got all that middle management stuff out in the open. And I think with that, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to send us out here.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. If you could leave us a late rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. Link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.